Hello, welcome. So I'm just back from my summer holidays. Got back to work. Oh, gee, I was I was attacked. Got back to work. I was attacked. Yeah, 23 people. They pulled down my trousers and tried to steal my phone. It's not easy being a children's party entertainer. Am I right? Am I right? Hello, how's it going? This is Big Ben. I am back from my summer holidays. If you've seen any of my videos online, you'll know that my big gag is my trousers drop off and all the kids roar with laughter. Doesn't work at my wife's office. No, I haven't tried that at my wife's office. And I do wear big Bermuda shorts under my clown pants, so they don't really see my underwear, apart from that one occasion when I forgot to wear the Bermuda shorts. So let's not talk about that. You know, people, I've been thinking about this, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to wear clown makeup anymore. Well, you know, at the parties, you know, it scares the kids. So every time I get home from work, my wife says, "Wipe that smile off your face." Whee! Is that the truth, guys? Is that the truth? You have fun all day long at the shows, and you come home, and your wife's like, "Nah, nah, 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 nah." Oh, Whitey, yabba-dabba-doo. Hey, what are you doing? You still listening? That was just me. I was just like, why are you still listening? Yes, so, alrighty, as you might have guessed, that is a bit of stand-up comedy that I have been writing, and later on I will try it out and see how badly it goes. But first, let's talk to some of the really good stand-up comedians. How do you do your writing? How do you do your coming up with new ideas, new material?
Most of it, I've got a Samsung Galaxy Note not exploding.
Okay.
I've got a Note 3, so I've got one of the old ones, which has it has the pen and it has a post-it note facility on it. So if I come up with an idea or something happens and I'm walking down the street, I'll just scribble a note.
Yeah.
And then I save that, and then basically in the evening when I've got a bit of time, and that's not often. So maybe once a week if I'm lucky, maybe once a fortnight is probably more realistic.
Yeah.
I go back through the notes.
Yeah.
Sometimes have no idea.
What it means.
You know why? Britney Spears coconut monkey.
Yeah.
No idea what I was thinking when I wrote it down. But whatever I can still remember or translate, it then goes into my notebook.
Yeah.
Bullet points, but it's always bullet points.
Okay.
I never expand. I never write it out full format.
Yeah.
I don't have the time or the inclination.
Right.
And that's why I record everything. Because if something happened on stage,
when you try it out at an open mic, do you try to memorise it all, or do you take notes with you?
On the Monday show that we do, I'll take notes because that's the kind of show it is.
Yeah.
But no, you'll always see, if you look closely, you'll always see the scribbles on my right hand because I'm left-handed, and I always wear my watch on my right wrist. So the only time I wear a watch is when I'm on stage.
Right.
I often forget to start. It's a stopwatch, so I often forget to start it, but it's there. If for no other reason than if I have totally lost my way, the audience don't realise I'm looking at my notes and they think I'm checking the time.
Yeah.
But even that I hate. I must admit that's one of my real bugbears, and I'm going to stop it. I'm going to get an old Casio. It's an old Casio that I wear, but I want to get the old Casio that vibrates.
I've got one.
Is that the one you've got? Right, okay, excellent. So you set it for 15 minutes, it counts down, it vibrates on your wrist.
Yep.
Because one of the things I don't think the audience realise is the comedian is just trying to be polite by checking their watch.
Yeah.
But in any other walk of life, if someone's talking to you,
checking their watch,
it means they want to get out of there, right? So it's something I want to get rid of. So if I get the vibrating watch,
I've got.
this is.
Okay. I'll try and put this in the details of the notes, but it's an old-fashioned Casio G-Shock.
Right.
You got to find it. It's not in the shops anymore.
No. So, well, in Singapore there's Mustafa Centre.
There you go.
Which is where I got the original
it's got a
one.
countdown, so I set it for like 5 minutes. It was an open mic, and it will buzz at 5 minutes. And I could hear it buzzing on my wrist.
Yeah. So I want to get one that's even older than that though. I want to get because the one I've got at the moment is like the lithium ion one. It's like the one my dad wore.
Yeah. And how do you? So you're trying out new material. How do you judge that a bit's working? And what I mean is sometimes at an open mic, well, I don't know, maybe it's different in Singapore, but in a Hong Kong open mic, sometimes the audience isn't really listening to you. They're there in a bar having a drink.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to judge whether your new material is
actually
working because no one's laughing at even your good material.
Yeah.
So it's tricky. Do you
I
have any
I agree. I think that's where you've got to have confidence in your style and delivery, which kind of goes back to that bit we were talking about with the previews.
Yeah.
So the point is get it out and see how it feels as you say it.
Yeah.
And if it has,
see how it feels
if you've
to
got
you.
yeah. And if you've got a rhythm or a style, or you know that there's a scenario where that will work, then hold it, keep it, try it again.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous of comedians who get the opportunity to try out material much more often.
Right.
So my friend Will Mars, who lives in New York now,
Right.
I did some gigs with him here. We did Singapore. We had him over to do some gigs in Singapore, and then he went up to Myanmar, and I went with him up to Myanmar. And he does a joke. I won't tell you the joke. I'm not going to do the joke, but he does a joke about being on a bicycle, and the pedals fall off.
Yeah.
Right. And so when he came on, and I knew he was still working on new material, and I would never say this to another comedian, but I know Will quite well, and I said to him after the show, I said, "Can I ask you a question or suggest something about the bicycle bit when the pedals fall off?" And I said what I thought, and his response, I've never heard a comedian say this before, his response was, "I have tried that section, just that bit about how the pedals fell off the bike."
Yeah.
He said, "I have said that 27 different ways, and the way I said it tonight is the one that gets the best laugh."
Wow.
And I thought, just to have the luxury, and but living in New York, he did that 27 days in a week, 27 times in a week.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas that would take us 27 weeks.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I have exactly that problem. That's the problem for Hong Kong as well.
Yeah.
Because you have a bit of new material, and sometimes it takes months before you get a decent enough record of whether it's working or not.
Yeah.
Before you can tell.
Yeah.
Because half the time you go into an open mic where the audience isn't listening to you, and that's like only once or twice a week, and then the weeks go by.
Yeah.
And you're still like, does it work? I've been doing this for months. I still don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So you just got to have the courage, and I think that's what I learned at the festival.
Yeah, maybe just trust yourself, I guess.
Yeah. So a load of
I believe it works. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. So I know like a lot of comedians, like with the Edinburgh Festival, for example, with the British circuit anyway, or British comedians, they tend to use Edinburgh as the pinnacle of that year's worth of material, right?
Yeah.
Build it up, and make it perfect. But when I've heard of Asian-based comedians coming back from Edinburgh, they've used Edinburgh as the chance to try everything.
Right.
Because it's the first opportunity they've had in ages to actually... Because that's 3 weeks long, that festival. It's 21 nights.
Yes, because in Asia you don't get that many shows.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and you might get your own show plus 2 or 3 spots a night in Edinburgh, or during the day, because it starts at any time of the day.
Yeah.
So you've got...
Well, I've often
100
thought
opportunities.
I've often thought that in Hong Kong. I finished an open mic, and I think if only I could go to another open mic in like in half an hour's time, I could really hone this material. But what happens is I don't go to open mic for another couple of days, or maybe in a week. Yeah. And by that time, it's sort of like starting from scratch again. It's like last week was just
lost the
gone. It's gone through and it's gone.
So I think you've got to just we're in a slightly different scenario in the way that we have to write material and work it up. And I think that's where you've just got to have the courage that what you do is right.
How do you go about writing your material? You had a big file of stuff you collected over the years.
Yeah, I'd had a file.
How do you turn that into a set? Or do you?
Well, I think it's changed. I mean, now it would be different from what it was then. Then it was just, I was reading it frantically, like, what doesn't suck? Like what here, like, seems like coming out of my mouth, it could turn into something that was
it's hard
funny.
though, isn't it? I find, because I read it at home and I think, what doesn't suck? Okay, this sucks, this sucks. And then I go backstage and I realise that a lot more stuff sucks. And by the time I'm on stage, I realise that actually everything sucks.
Right.
Sometimes your criteria of judging gets higher and higher as you get closer to the stage time.
Yeah. when I started, I thought a lot about wording and concepts. Like, it was always about, what idea do I have that I kind of have an interesting take on? Where, that's a funny approach or whatever, or that's a funny like turn of phrase, or that's a funny joke or whatever. And nowadays, that's not really. I don't get excited about material because it has a funny approach. I get excited because it has a funny, there's something sticky in it in the way I get to perform it. Like, if I figure out a way that I get to do a character through it, or I get to...
So you're interested in the performance, the
performance,
characterization?
Yeah, because to me that's what makes it exciting to try. So for me, if I have a bit of new material and it's, I really want to talk about this topic, I don't think it's enough for me to say, I have a really funny perspective on Donald Trump or something.
Yeah.
It would be, would I have that's a bad example, I don't have a joke about Donald Trump. I'm not interested in talking about that, but at the same time, if I had like a great impression of Donald Trump, that would be, to me, a far more interesting incentive for me to go up on stage and do that, because what through that performance can I channel that will get the crowd to connect with the material? That's what I'm more looking for now.
Yes, it's the oldest question in the book, and how do you come up with all your crazy ideas?
Exactly. What is the Nick Milnes?
I borrowed that from Richard Herring, by the way, his excellent podcast where he asked that question of Steve Coogan or vice versa, but it was particularly well put. But my crazy ideas these days are a bit more personal and a bit more sort of personal reminiscence.
Yes.
That sounds terrible, doesn't it? It sounds like I'm already in a rocking chair.
That's your subject.
Personal experience, yeah.
But how do you
how do I craft?
Have you got a way of doing things?
I think that a funny idea, and I'm going to give you a specific, most recent.
Specific's good. I love specific.
Most recent example. I was a joke I told a long time ago about, which is actually a true story. About when I called up my sister-in-law and she had just had my brother's child. We assume it's my brother's. Looks like him. I hadn't seen it at that point, so the jury was out.
2 eyes, 2 arms, 2 legs.
Yeah,
looks like him.
Yeah, but the child. I was told when I called my sister-in-law and was like, "Oh, how's everything?" And I knew she'd had the baby, obviously. And she said, "Oh, it's okay, but I think Saskia's inherited my X-Men." And I said, "You're what?" And she said, "I think Saskia's inherited my X-Men." And I said, "You think Saskia's inherited your X-Men?" And she said, "No, I meant my eczema." I went, "Oh, thank God for that. I thought you meant your accent." And then where I've just moved, so that's a pre-existing story really that needed very little. It's a bit down on the Essex people. I perhaps didn't explain at the beginning that she's from Essex. I hope that was clear in the accent.
It was so funny.
But so that was pre-existing, and I think once you get a certain critical mass, it's like a fusion reaction. Once you get a certain critical mass, no, it's not. It's like the crystallization of potassium permanganate at school.
Oh.
Other bits begin to adhere to them.
Yeah.
So then the other day I was going into the 7-Eleven and a woman who I know vaguely from the expat community where I live sort of didn't recognise me. She's always a bit blotto outside one of the alfresco pubs that are around there. And she didn't recognise me. I was, to be fair, just dressed in a pair of beach shorts. But she kind of calls over to...
You're dressed very stylishly in black today.
Thank you very much, Ben, yeah. But whereas Ben, on the other hand, is doing nothing
at
all.
No, I've got beetles on.
Yeah, they're on his head though, for some reason.
Oh.
But he's wearing
we'll
only.
Put that on YouTube later. Yeah, the video.
But so she sort of sneers somewhat disparagingly towards her friend at me, sort of unaware of the fact that we're acquainted. and it just I don't know. So I wanted to write a joke about that because I went to quite a posh school. I have quite a posh accent. Yeah, so back to this pub. Sorry if it's turning into a bit of a laborious story. But, yeah.
It's okay. What we'll do, we'll just spend 1 second on each of the other 55 questions and just concentrate on the very first question.
Okay, but the actual question... Well, look, I've actually got it in my bag, so if you let me... Because the other reason that I'm hedging is I've only just written it. I can't quite remember. All right.
Well, this is it. Hot off the press, insights into Nick Milnes' writing technique.
But is it, though? Because it's actually just... Oh, right, yeah. All right, so here we go. So I'd already had the story about my sister-in-law. So the story about my sister-in-law, and then that's right. So I wrote a whole thing about this woman at the bar, alfresco bar, being from Essex.
Yeah.
And then I realised, well, I'll just dovetail it into my sister-in-law. It just becomes my sister-in-law.
Yeah.
So then I go on to say... she takes the piss out of me. So remember I talked about a phone call. So she takes that piss out of me. Like if she calls me, she'll say, hello, which I must admit, 25 years after I left my exclusive British boarding school, still great, because it's the exact same talk we'd get from the population of the town our school was in, to which we'd reply, Cortina! The kind of car abuse was typically being hurled from. I don't do that to her, it wouldn't make sense. She drives a Range Rover. Another stereotypical Essex. Yeah, now that everyone in Essex is doing a bit better, it's all Range Rovers, not the Cortinas. Plus, I've pissed away every privilege that school ever gave me, whilst retaining the accent that marks me out as a class enemy. I suffer from post-traumatic class disorder. So, you know, it wouldn't have necessarily made your audience at home, the dear listener, chuckle, but in terms of how it shows
you can see
crystallization, potassium permanganate-like.
So you have your basic idea, and you
think
starts to stick to it. So
yeah,
you put that in there, and it can build.
Yeah, a crew.
A crew. That's a good word.
Yeah.
What about the technical stuff? You've never gone to any stand-up comedy courses or training, or self-taught?
Yeah, no, self-taught, learning through.
So how did you pick up the technical stuff?
It's all in the doing.
Yeah.
There are other things in this world. Well, actually, everything else in this world you can learn by reading a textbook or practicing out of the sight of the public. But comedy is the only thing you get better at by actually doing it.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
If you're a doctor, you don't just cut people's heads open when you first start. You have to start on cadavers or on dead people. But in comedy, we're cutting heads open every night live.
Yeah.
That's the only way to get better. You can talk all you want in front of a mirror at home, but it doesn't prepare you for the dangers of live comedy.
Alrighty, let's go to an open mic and try out my new material.
I've got a few jokes. You want to hear some jokes? Yeah! Before I start, I got attacked. I got attacked. 23 people just they mugged me. They tried to pull out my trousers. They ran around the back trying to steal things, trying to take my phone. God, it's not easy being a children's party entertainer. Pay attention to school. Don't end up doing what I do for a living. I think I'm going to stop wearing the clown makeup. There's a couple of reasons. At the birthday party, there's always a kid that's going to be absolutely terrified, of the white makeup. And I get funny looks at the supermarket.
Plus, I get funny looks at the supermarket. Oh well, win some, lose some. I'll try again at another open mic next week.